on. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bliss Podcast. I am your host, Maitreya Rishi Dasa, and I'm here with another special guest. One special guest was not enough. We have to bring more and more variety. Variety is the mother of enjoyment. Makhancora Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you doing?
Hare Krishna, Maitreya Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhu, for this, for your kind invitation and the honor to be on the podcast with you. I'm very much delighted.
The honor is all mine. I am not worthy of such a elevated soul talking to me, but thank you for having mercy on me so we can discuss quite an important subject matter, of course, always Krishna consciousness, the most important subject matter. But today I decided that we would talk about, or Puraji Prabhu actually, he suggested to me that we talk about pollution, why it happens, and how to solve it. So, this is quite a relevant issue because we live on the planet, and if there's no planet left to live on, it will be difficult to practice Krishna consciousness. So I think it's quite important that we understand why certain things are going wrong and the possible negative effects of that, and our positive solution, because we can go on criticizing and lamenting for so long, but if we don't actually produce a positive solution, then we're just pessimists, and there's nothing more than that. So I think we can move on. I just want to quickly begin by giving a little Bliss news. Unfortunately, I don't have the nice jingle for the Bliss news anymore because Puraji Prabhu is he's not I don't want to sound like he's my servant, but he is the Bliss podcast DJ. Usually his computer has all the sound effects and jingles and like this, and I don't have access to that right now, and I have no idea where he keeps all these files, so I can't bring in the nice Bliss news effect. But anyway, you can imagine it. You can just imagine, if you heard our previous podcast, you can imagine that nice jingle. And now the Bliss news. So, yes, we have exciting new website design, expandthebliss.com. It's very nice. There are articles uploaded very regularly. Every single day there are 1 to 2 articles uploaded. And it's a real ocean there. It's an ocean of Krishna conscious articles and other related things. Also, we have some videos on there, and articles from devotees, articles from Prabhupada, articles from other devotees outside of Bliss. So it's really exciting. And also on the same website, we have now Puraji Prabhu's new ebooks, which are very exciting. Yeah, Jai. They also, before we get into that, when you find that, you're going to find in order, you're going to find Srila Prabhupada's original books, all there, not all of the books, but there are the books that have been brought back to the original way as Srila Prabhupada wanted it, and they're available for download on our ebook section. And also this section has been redesigned, looks very nice. We also have compilations by Puraji Prabhu. These are Srila Prabhupada's books and quotes that have been compiled in a certain order to elaborate or further or go deeper into a certain subject matter. For example, the teachings of Lord Buddha is there. So, and it's the teachings of Lord Buddha from the Vedic point of view. So Puraji Prabhu very nicely compiled all the quotes of Srila Prabhupada. And he just walked into the temple actually just now. He just came back from a walk. So speak of the devil, but not the devil because he's a devotee. So speak of the Vaishnava, to reinvent the phrase. He's now entered. So teachings of Lord Buddha from the Vedic point of view is there. Very nice. Many other books also how to worship deities according to Srila Prabhupada. And also, he himself has written and commented upon Srila Prabhupada's quotes with his own realizations, and like this, more of his own book written. And there's 3 of those available currently on the website: The History of Atheism, The Proof of the Vedas, and The Proof of You. So these are also really exciting books that give the proofs and evidences of the soul, why the Vedas are the ultimate source of and the only source of real knowledge, and kind of analyzing the atheistic point of view and how it relates to Krishna consciousness. So these are really cool books. You can check these out on Expanded Bliss, and the links will be down in the comment section below. So that's there's so much more Bliss news going on, but I think without further more ado, we can get into the meat of the podcast. So, pollution. Like Prabhupada says, crime, what to do. So, pollution, what to do. I was reading a book recently called The Divine Nature. It's written by one devotee from the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And it very nicely details the various problems that are going on now in the world in terms of the environment. So I just to give people a little context, actually, what's going on, for whatever reason it might be, what's actually going on now across the world, it's kind of disturbing. There is a huge, kind of like a mass extinction movement going on. There's unrestricted hunting of animals. Many animals are being reduced to endangered species and almost extinct. There's a statistic here that the number of African elephants from the 1980s onwards has shrunk from 1.5 million to 600,000. That was in 1989. So what to speak of now? Right, so animals are being killed. We're killing our brothers and sisters, other souls and other bodies. We're killing them and using them for meat and so many products and like that. So horrible. That's going on worldwide. Also, I'm sure everyone knows the amount of rainforests that are being cut down. Millions and millions of square miles. Almost every day we lose tens and tens of thousands of miles, 45,000 square miles. A year.
Yeah.
So there's a calculation.
That's like the whole of Slovakia.
Really, Slovakia? Okay, the whole of Slovakia per year lost in rainforests. So there are many other things that the soil in which we grow our food is also being lost by the use of fertilizers. They completely destroy the soil, which is how we actually grow food. So for the sake of mass-producing food, they're destroying the very land by which we would survive. There's a massive amount of buildup of trash. There's some, I don't know, Prabhu, maybe you can remember this, but there's some some big island of trash in the ocean that's the size of something, I can't remember.
France or Germany or something like that.
Some ridiculous thing. So anyway, without getting too much into the details of it, we can basically understand that the whole world is going to hell. And it already is hell, of course. From the Vedic point of view, this land is not our home. Actually, the soul within the body is eternal. The body is changing so many times, from a boyhood body to a youthful body to an old man's body, or whatever the sex might be, it's changing. And the consciousness, regardless of these changes, remains. So the person inside the body is the self, and that self is eternal. It's lasting throughout all the changes of the body. It's a different energy to the temporary material energy. That energy is consciousness, Satchidananda Vigraha, or Satchidananda. So eternal bliss and knowledge. And naturally it follows that the consciousness, if it's eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, which is the information we get from the Vedic literature, it doesn't belong in a world which is full of these kind of miseries, environmental degradation, and COVID, and so on and so on. It belongs to the spiritual world, which you also get information from in the Vedic literature. And so our duty in the human form of life is not to make the world situation so much more comfortable, or very comfortable at all. Is actually to focus on the goal of life, which is to realize the self, and go back to the place where there is no sufferings, and never return to this miserable world. So although we do talk about these issues, we talk about them from a Krishna conscious point of view, and we're not philanthropists, or we're not environmentalists that now our only focus is to help those in need, or save the animals, or save the planet. Of course, these things are important, but most importantly, they can be solved by Krishna consciousness. You have to water the root. That is an expression, and it's given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that yata taro mulinisachanena. You have to water the root. If you water the many branches of a tree, let's say, you can put a whole ocean of water on the branches of a tree, but it will never benefit the tree. So you have to put that water into the root, and then when the water is on the root, then the tree becomes nourished. So similarly, by serving Krishna, or God, the source of the material world, he who is maintaining the material world, then naturally everything else within the material world, the different branches and leaves, the different details, people, animals, the environment, so on and so on, those automatically become maintained as well. So our focus is on how to become Krishna conscious, or serve Krishna in devotional service, and then automatically these lesser problems are solved. So just before we move on, also, I think we're getting a little bit of feedback from Makhancora Prabhu's mic, so I apologize if that's happening. I don't know if I'm able to reduce that here, but yeah, maybe it's getting feedback from me. Anyway, so anything you'd like to add on this point, Prabhu? Hare Krishna?
Is it squeaky there, Prabhu?
Oh, it's a little. Maybe you could try again, Prabhu.
Maybe I can do something here.
Okay,
Hare
yes.
Krishna.
Now you sound good. Now you sound golden. Like the Gandhava you are.
I'm sorry?
Now you sound like the angel that you are. You sound good.
Okay.
It's a little glitchy, but I think if
No, that's not. Anyway, I'm also a little losing some here and there. There is a little, like 1-2 seconds of a blackout of the signal, but I think we can manage.
Okay. You got the rough gist of what I said?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. So, anything you'd like to add to that point, or should we move on?
I would just like to know that I remember this kind of. It's not like exactly like a joke, but if you look at it from a certain point of view, it's quite interesting. There is this morning walk. It's also on video. It's from Australia. Devotees are walking with Srila Prabhupada in some park or a botanic garden or something, and it's kind of chilly. So Prabhupada has this hat and chadar and everything. Everyone is dressed up, and they're asking him about the different species on different planets and stuff like that. And then Srila Prabhupada stops, kind of looks around, and he says, "This planet is very nice for Krishna consciousness." I don't know if you remember that one, Prabhu?
I actually didn't see this one, no.
Oh, okay. So I find it kind of interesting that Srila Prabhupada is really like out of this world, and he just comes here and says, "Oh, this planet is very nice," Yes. So it's worth to try to not damage it, because after all, we cannot really save it. That's also Prabhupada says, that the sun will first it will expand the heat, then it will shrink, then that there will be a annihilation as time revolves in cycles. But so long we're here, why we should unnecessary damage the nature is also a reflection of it is Krishna's nature,
right?
And it reflects the wonderful intelligence and beauty of Krishna, and it's his creation. So instead of trying to exploit and manipulate and destroy everything by our unqualified, I would say, interference, we should just learn how to cooperate and utilize nature's gifts in a humble and modest way to keep the soul and body together and focus on the spiritual side of life. But I think we will have more time to talk about it. So just this little kind of humorous note that I remembered that Srila Prabhupada just says like this, that this planet is very nice. I've seen many planets, that this one is okay. Something like that.
Prabhupada transcendentally is always going from planet to planet preaching Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Why Prabhupada says like that also is because this planet is like because this planet now also as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came he incarnated on this planet and he started his Sankirtana movement, or the movement of chanting the holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This movement, like I was mentioning before, we're eternal spirit soul. So due to the misconception or the illusion that we have that we are the material body, this is due to various misconceptions regarding the soul and our desire to lord it over nature. Like you were talking about, we shouldn't exploit the beautiful nature of Krishna. So our desire to lord it over, to be God ourselves, has put us in the illusion that we're this body. Because this body is gives us a facility or a faculty by which we can enjoy, like God is enjoying. God is the supreme enjoyer. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. This body gives us that illusion that we're the enjoyer. So this chanting of Hare Krishna, it clears these misconceptions from the minds. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So that chanting process, it eventually results in one realizing the eternal spiritual self, which is always in a loving relationship with Krishna. So why this planet is so beneficial is because the Sankirtan movement is going on this very planet, and it is spreading eventually to the whole universe. But even the demigods from higher planetary systems, they come down to this planet so they can participate. They want to come down to this planet so they can participate in the movement of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's such an auspicious movement. So this is just something I was thinking of. Of course, it's not really related to the podcast, but there's some realization I had why Prabhupada says that.
I would also maybe mention one point when you spoke of this, that different grades of planets. You have higher planets, you have lower planets, you have intermediate planets like this Earth. So if you're on a higher planet, there is a danger of forgetting about Krishna because the sense pleasure is so high that you just become absorbed completely in the body. And then in the lower planets, you also cannot remember Krishna because the suffering is again, the hellish planet and stuff like that. The struggle for existence is very heavy.
Right.
So again, you cannot remember Krishna. So this planet is very nicely. The environment is very nicely conducive. There is not too much pleasure. Well, the pleasure is there, but it's not like an overly exaggerated sense pleasure. And also the suffering is not. There is some pleasure, there is some suffering, and you're like in the middle, and you can, what's the sense pleasure? You also can realize the suffering, and you can ask proper questions. So people want to make this artificially as a heavenly planet, so they would forget Krishna again through sense pleasure. But because they are, a little dumb, then they make unqualified decisions and they interfere with nature's order. So the planet degrades into kind of like a lower status. So again, there will be so much suffering that they will again forget Krishna.
Right.
So it's like a lose-lose situation. We should just, let it as it is. Everything is complete. Purnam, like Ishopanishad says, the whole emanation is because it comes from God. That's why it's complete. So we should learn this truth and just learn how to simply utilize the resources we need for our sustenance and cultivate spiritual values.
Right. Okay. That's another one point you mentioned in the beginning of that was really important. I think everything you said was important, but one thing specifically I was thinking about was that this point about the different, the suffering in the sense enjoyment on the different planetary systems, and why the Earth and planet is, or the Bhuvaloka system is good, because you don't have so much sense pleasure that you can't forget Krishna, like you said, but there's still some suffering, and that suffering pushes you. Oh, we're getting some echo, some feedback. This is not going to last. That suffering pushes you to ask questions. What am I doing here? What is the purpose of my life? Like that. So these questions, this is referred to in the Vedic literature as a Tata Brahma Jignasa, and it basically, that's the beginning of one's taking up spiritual life. So you don't forget Krishna because of too much sense enjoyment. You don't forget Krishna because of too much hellish enjoyment. Hellish suffering. But if you're how do you say, a masochist, maybe it's hellish enjoyment. But that suffering brings you to the point of questioning, and then you can progress. You can go back home, back to Godhead from that point. So all this pollution and all this suffering that's happening because of the environment, also what's happening in the environment, it is affecting us also, of course, in so many ways. The air is becoming thick and polluted. So many animals are dying. We get reactions also because of our mistreatment of animals and the environment from the demigods, who are the administrators of the different affairs that happen with nature. So, for example, Prabhu, I think you actually might have some quotes on this. Maybe you could read them after I just finish the point. That the reaction for the sinful activities of mistreating this world, which is actually ultimately made for us just to make progress in spiritual life, is that we suffer things like COVID, for example. If we want to exploit nature with this exploitative mentality of wanting to be God, if we kill the animals, especially the cow, then we will get a reaction for that, and this is practically seen by COVID. It's not that you can do whatever damn nonsense you like and get away with it. There will be a karmic reaction for what you do. This is common sense. It's accepted by people in general that what goes around comes around. If you do something, it is a natural conclusion that something will happen to you. Just like if you commit some crime, the law court will punish you. You can't escape, or you may be able to little escape the material law court, but that is a reflection of the law of God, or the law of nature also, you could say, like that. So, but you cannot escape that law. That law will always catch up to you, and we are seeing all the time the reactions to our sinful activities. So, I don't know, maybe, I think you mentioned that you have some quotes from Srila Prabhupada referring to this reaction. Could you please bless us by reading these quotes?
Okay, I think this is relevant because you also mentioned that we're going to talk about the climate change and global warming, and so of course many other things are connected with this. So again, being inquisitive means to try to search out the cause of different phenomena. So in the Vedic literature, of course, the material scientists, they can speculate about the causes. But from the Vedas, we understand that, first of all, people are around all the time, since the beginning. And now we live in the age called Kali Yuga. So the Kali Yuga, as opposed to previous ages, is the most saturated with sinful activities and sinful reactions. So these natural disturbances, and it's like a vicious cycle. So the people's minds, people's consciousness become more and more covered and then they act more and more without any regulation, committing more and more sinful activities. And when we speak of sinful activities, it doesn't just mean like some medieval, definition of sin, whatever that may be, but people do not know actually what does it mean, the sin. Sin is that which is contrary to your well-being. The sinful, to commit sin is to do something which will hamper your well-being. And what is the ultimate well-being is a spiritual realization. So even things which seem nice are actually sinful. You help someone materially, you help the poor with the money, or you help a granny to cross the street, but that you do not know that she's carrying some sausage in her back, and you just helped her to get home so she can eat that sausage. So you become implicated, right? And you are getting sinful reactions. So I mean, you have to get another body, again take birth, again get old, again die, and suffer disease, just because you so-called helped someone. So even this helping in the material world is sinful. But speaking of this particular age we are now, we know that the spiritual culture is not being very much, it's not mainstream, at least. The overall education, mainstream education, tends to be more materialistic or atheistic, outwardly atheistic. So if people want to know something about spiritual life, they have to make their own quest. So overall, the population is being more and more forgetful about God. So this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 17th chapter. And I'm just going to read the translation. On the birth of the two demons, I suppose this is Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Let me see that. Yes, Diti. The virtuous lady Diti had been very apprehensive of trouble to the gods from the children in her womb, and her husband predicted the same. She brought forth twin sons after a full 100 years of pregnancy. So this is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, right? The sons of Diti.
Right.
Now on the birth of the two demons, there were many natural disturbances, all very fearful and wonderful, in the heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and in between them. Next shloka. There were earthquakes along the mountains on the earth, and it appeared that there was fire everywhere. Many inauspicious planets like Saturn appeared, along with comets, meteors, and thunderbolts. By the way, there was a comet in the sky just recently called Neo-Wise. I don't know if you have noticed that.
I actually have not, no.
Yeah, it was like clearly visible in the sky. People were taking pictures, there's like lots of pictures, and it was quite an occurrence. So there was a comet just recently. So purport by Srila Prabhupada. When a natural disturbances occur on a planet, one should understand that a demon must have taken birth there. In the present age, the number of demoniac people is increasing. Therefore, natural disturbances are also increasing. There is no doubt about this, as we can understand from the statements of the Bhagavatam. And the next shloka. There blew winds which were most uninviting to the touch, hissing again and again and uprooting gigantic trees. They had storms for their armies and clouds of dust for their ensigns. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When there are natural disturbances like blowing cyclones, too much heat or snowfall, and uprooting of trees by hurricanes, it is to be understood that the demoniac population is increasing, and so the natural disturbance is also taking place. There are many countries on the globe, even at the present moment, where all these disturbances are current. This is true all over the world. There is insufficient sunshine, and there are always clouds in the sky, snowfall, and severe cold. These assure that such places are inhabited by demoniac people who are accustomed to all kinds of forbidden, sinful activity. So this is one portion of the Bhagavatam. So this is the reason, even if we speak of climate change or global warming or pollution overall, the sinful population is increasing. People do not care for anything. They just care how to satisfy their tongue, belly, and genital. So there is overconsumption, waste, waste of resources, waste of energy. I went to Iceland this year, and I was sustaining by dumpster diving. That means that I would go to these big supermarkets, and in the back they would have dumpsters, these big containers, and they were full of vegetables, full of fruits, and full of other stuff. So much food was being thrown out. So at least they didn't lock them, and you could go and pick. But this is also one of the symptoms. So the sinful population is increasing, and that's why nature is responding. So whatever trouble is there, it is due to lack of God or Krishna consciousness and artificial needs. And this is actually the root cause. Whether it's whether we ascribe it to the man, or sometimes they say it's also natural. Let's say the climate change is a natural occurrence that comes in cycles or whatever. Whether this way or that way, it is the consciousness of the humans that creates trouble, according to the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, very nicely said.
I hope these quotes are relevant to our topic.
Oh yeah,
it's more about
No, very relevant. I'm very nectarian. Very interesting. Like, I understood from that like why, like I mentioned before, this world is made for self-realization. So why the nature is responding in this way is not just to protect itself, but it's also to wake us up. Like, wake up!
Yeah, you're not in charge.
You're not in charge. What are you doing here? You're like, and why are we acting in such a way? And I was watching recently a very interesting video with Puruja Prabhu. That was a devotee, Radha Mohan Prabhu. Maybe you've heard of him, Prabhu. I don't know. He has a YouTube channel, and he discusses various topics on Vedic astrology and some stuff with the Vedas there, and very interesting. And one of the videos that he most recently did was that the kind of the predictions made by one of the Vedic scriptures called the Bhavishya Purana. So it's very interesting. It's stated in the Bhavishya Purana that I've just a little bit lost my train of thought. Well, the Bhavishya Purana is kind of like it's written as a history of events that have already happened, because time is cyclical in the Vedic Puranic standard of history. In the Vedic standard of time, we're going through different cycles, different yugas. So what is happening now is already happened already in previous cycles, because
it's a deja vu.
It's a deja vu. Yeah, we are living out our karma. So in one sense, it's mechanical. Everything that's happening now has already happened. So the Puranas, they describe events that have already happened, but actually they are events that will happen also in the future. So now, what was said in this video was that there is an increase there will be an increase, it's a prediction, there will be an increase in, around this time, in spiritual life, meditation, different alternate ways of living. And this is something that we see all the time now, that people are, it might not be strictly Krishna consciousness, but people are taking up to some kind of healthier lifestyle, veganism, yoga, meditation, not just gross materialism. People are going a little bit deeper into something alternative. I was even on the streets before the COVID lockdown happened, the newest one in London. I was on the street, I was distributing a book. I was distributing books, and one couple, they took a book from me, and they said, we'd like to read this book because we think that everyone needs to start thinking a little differently. We've all been thinking in the same way for so long, and look where it's gotten us. We're in such a horrible mess now. So let's try something a little different. So the Puranas, the Bhavishya Purana, it predicts that there will be a change in people's consciousness because of tremendous amounts of pressure from environmental suffering, social suffering, political pressures. And what's even more interesting is that it's also predicted that at some point in the near future, there will be a golden age of Krishna consciousness, and actually people will take to Krishna consciousness en masse, and the world will become almost like the heavenly planets. So it's just very interesting that we're seeing this shift now, in kind of like a stark contrast to the amount of hellish conditions that we're also experiencing. So,
if I can make a point.
Yes, please, Prabhu.
I thought about it many times already before. I also said it many times that it's kind of like you have like two very strong currents nowadays. You can see it, like the really demoniac propensities increasing and people just going really nuts in doing nonsense, all kinds of nonsense. But then you have also this movement of people trying to wake up to some different consciousness and to elevate. Of course, it is not critical mass yet, so we have to preach. But as you mentioned also before, that after all, we are here to realize the self, which is just the preliminary position, just like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nasochati Kankshati. So this Brahma Bhuta, this is not yet Krishna consciousness or devotional service. It is just to understand that I am not this body. So that realization can be made even by a materialist, that I am not this body. If one simply uses his intelligence properly, he can actually realize I'm actually not this body. Like Prabhupada says, if you cut the finger, you now have consciousness in your finger. If you cut it and throw it on the floor, is your consciousness there? Your consciousness is removed from that bit.
Right.
Your body is on the floor. So if you just think properly, you have to understand that my limbs is not me. So what about the chest? What about the head? This is not me. So who is this I? This is Sankhya philosophy, even the materialistic. Even you don't have to even bring God into the picture. And simply by understanding of your intelligence, you can understand that I'm not this body. So this is not even a very high level of actually spiritual understanding. The high level is to engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. That comes after. That is when you actually engage in devotional service. Of course, we can practice before. Even we are not Brahma realized, but we can already practice devotional service. But what I want to say is this na sochati na kankshati. So if people just wake up to this understanding that there is a transcendental life, or that I'm not finished with this body, or so many angles of vision we can have on this Brahma Bhuta na sochati na kankshati, we stop lamenting and we stop the kanksha. Kanksha means to hanker. So again, all this pollution, all this what's going on, all this unpleasant situation is created by people's hankering over things they do not need. And why they are hankering? Because they're deeply absorbed in the bodily concept of life. So this shift, of course, we know that there are so many, bogus ideas and all kinds of so-called esoterics and whatever. But still, it brings people a little bit to like this couple said, that we want to, change our vision. So that this should be supported, and of course the actual siddhanta, like we say, the real conclusion, the perfect philosophy should be preached as much as possible and pushed. So when there is a pressure, there will be a counter pressure. So there is the pressure on sense grat, but there is also a counter pressure because people also feel that they are not satisfied. Right? even you give them the facility, even they get the facility. That Srila Prabhupada was saying this even already in the 60s in America, what to speak of today, that they have everything to enjoy the senses, but they become frustrated. So as there is the pressure to gratify the senses, there is again a pressure to to figure out why it doesn't work, why the sense grade doesn't work. As then people start to inquire again.
Right. Yeah, it's natural that you can't keep on doing the same thing. Of course, that is the nature of the material world, that we're doing the same thing over and over and over again, trying to enjoy.
Becomes tyaga. So then people, at least for a little while, they renounce the sense and they start like, okay, so what? So those who are more fortunate, they don't come to bhoga again, the sense pleasure, but they go deeper. So it's an alternate plus minus oscillation, right? The mind oscillates, sakalpa vikalpa, accepting, rejecting, enjoyment, renouncement, like that. So this always goes on. Duality.
Yeah, so this was very interesting. I think that we have very nicely addressed this topic. One other topic I wanted to get into, if you don't mind, Prabhu, if I'll switch it now.
Sure, Prabhu, let's go.
That there was actually why. This is also not just from a Krishna conscious point of view, but from a kind of a modern scientific point of view. They have linked meat eating with the current environmental situation, and why this is because the mass meat industry, slaughterhouse industry, is producing or artificially producing, I would say, certainly abnormal amounts of livestock, billions of chickens and cows and pigs and so on and so on, so they can be slaughtered en masse also and supplied to whatever, McDonald's, whatever it might be. McDonald's, McFonald's. So this huge amount of livestock is naturally, then when there's an animal, he is passing stool. So these huge amount of animals, they're passing lots of stool, and this is producing a methane gas, and that is increasing that is producing a climate change that's ruining the ozone layer. I have very basic knowledge, very very surface level knowledge of this particular point, but as far as I understand, maybe you know a little bit more deeper, Prabhuji, you can elaborate if you know something, that the methane gas is destroying the layer which protects us from the sun. This is what at least the scientists say.
Yeah, that maybe so. I'm not now quite confident or sure about this one. Definitely, it's a greenhouse gas, methane, and yeah, it's all connected. You know, it's all connected. So whether it's an ozone layer or whether it's whatever it is, it's disturbing the harmony.
Right.
In the system. So
it's unnatural to kill animals in such a large scale, right? That this, like we were mentioning before, that it's not that we're given this world simply to exploit, and we can't just face a consequence for that. So many millions of animals are being killed simply for sense pleasure, and we think there's not going to be any consequence, even materially speaking. I was reading.
It doesn't make sense.
Sorry, Prabhu?
It doesn't make any sense, even materially speaking. Like if you go there and see, the slaughterhouse. Again, if you have half brain, you cannot think that there is no reaction. There must be.
There must be. And there is, and also practically, I was just reading, for example, it takes to produce 1 kilogram of meat, it takes 25 kilograms of grains,
yes,
and 15,000 liters of water.
Yes.
So we can just imagine the amount of resources that are expended just to produce, one restaurant's meat for a day. It's tremendous. So we're complaining about world hunger and so on and so forth, but actually the cost to make a little bit of meat just for the tongue is causing this world hunger.
What is funny is that people sometimes accuse God, like how come God allows people to be hungry? And well, you fool, that piece of meat that you have on your plate, you rascal, that 20 people could sit at the table and eat porridge,
Right.
and be satisfied. What God, what God you bringing here? You just count. You just learn how to count numbers. 1 plus 1.
Wow.
You don't
Good
have
point.
to bring God.
When there's a Prabhupada elaborates that when there's enjoyment, people thank God, and then when there's any kind of suffering, they immediately put the blame on God.
No, they don't even thank God. If there is enjoyment, that is their credit. They are so wonderful that they could create a situation of pleasure.
Right.
So no God, no praising God. But when there is suffering, this. If there is God, he must be responsible only for the bad thing. If there is at all God, then he's the rascal who lets children suffer or die of hunger. But when we manage to create something cool, so-called create, then there is no need of God. We managed on our own.
Right.
So this is a really wicked mentality.
Yeah, very envious of the position of God.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, and another thing I was reading is that people are complaining, for example, about poverty and starvation, but because they're using so much grain, like you said, porridge, because they're using so much porridge to feed the animals, it raises the price of grains, and people are not able to afford the grains. So not only is it depriving people of the resources, it's also depriving people of the money in which they can buy the resources. So simply for the sake of the tongue, we are destroying the world, and we're creating so much suffering for those around us. What to speak of the cows that we're actually murdering just for that same pleasure?
I would maybe put just a little apology, like a little apologetics. I don't know if it's called like this.
Yeah.
You have places on Earth where people simply cannot grow anything.
Oh.
Like let's say some Greenland or something, or some desert areas, or some very cold areas. So meat is kind of their pretty much the most of their sustenance. But it's not industrial, and what is more sinful is that this luxury goes on here in the Western countries, Europe and North America, where you really do not have to do this to survive. So it is simply a question of the tongue and uncontrolled taste buds. So I don't know how much sinful or less sinful it is if someone is dependent on eating meat. Of course, why he is in such a situation, that's another question. But you have no industrial cow killing scheme or anything. So this is another angle that, of course, we're actually not even so much against meat eating, because we will maybe touch on this point. There is what we call ahimsa meat. Especially what concerns the cows, but we're against the killing, unnecessary killing.
Right.
So this is the nonsense that animals are slaughtered for no reason, basically, especially here in the West, very whimsically.
Yeah, like Srila Prabhupada, he says many times that the foods for a human being are fruits, grains, vegetables, milk, and water. Right? So this is good for you if you take these things. You can lead a very healthy and happy life. Like you said very nicely, there's literally no necessity except some momentary pleasure, and for that momentary pleasure you cause so much suffering.
Even that pleasure is not there, because even that piece of meat he has to spice up. And what is the spice? It's herbs, right? So it's not even the meat that tastes.
Wow, good point. Yeah. So and what's more is that even though it's not even a great pleasure or that it causes so much suffering. Another thing is that it causes suffering to the eater in two senses. It has an immediate detrimental effect that the health declines. And I was reading there's a book that you can find online or on the Vedabase, which is a program that we use to access Krishna conscious content from Srila Prabhupada and the devotees of Krishna consciousness. There's a book there called the Hare Krishna Book of Vegetarian Cooking. It's by Adiraj Prabhu. And in this book, Adiraj, he found many studies that link heart disease, cholesterol increase, and to be connected to meat eating. No, it's also in Hare Krishna. Yeah. So 97% of heart disease can be prevented by a vegetarian diet. That's from the Journal of American Medical Association. And several well-organized studies have scientifically shown that tobacco and alcohol, after tobacco and alcohol, the consumption of meat is the greatest single cause of mortality in Western Europe, the United States, Australia, and other affluent areas of the world. Kind of interesting, right? Affluent areas, like you said, these wealthy countries.
Ah, wealthy, okay.
Yeah. So, Inter-Society Commission for Heart Disease Resources. The Commission for Heart Disease Resources. So this is not some speculation or some conspiracy theory exactly. These are actually scientific theories by doctors, by scientists that are testing that and finding the relationships between these deadly diseases and meat eating. And there are so many more studies. It would take me the rest of the podcast to go through, but you can all find it. Maybe I can put some links in the...
But Prabhu, since when do we accept the scientists?
It's true that we don't accept scientists because they are using their imperfect senses. But for the sake of this podcast, we can say that for people who do accept scientists, please take a look at the information. Wake up, man. Yeah.
No, but definitely, also they can do some...
They can do something.
Like this. Sometimes they hit the point, right? And then we know that they actually did a good job, but we already know ahead.
Yeah. Prabhupada says that if they support the Vedic conclusion, then they're okay.
Yeah.
They can support the Vedic science, but as soon as they go against Vedic science, they say there's no God, then it's nonsense. Yeah. So now, okay, so like you said very nicely, we're not exactly against the meat eating. You can eat meat, but against the killing, that is the main problem, because it is sinful. And if one is sinful, he can't understand spiritual life, and that goes against the whole principle of the human form of life. So, we pretty much touched on this point, and you touched on it nicely, but I think maybe if I can just read that conversation, because it's a very interesting conversation about ahimsa meat. And if you like to read this article again, you can find it on the Expand the Bliss website. It was posted there. So I'm just going to load up that conversation now. And let's see. Eat meat without killing.
If I could just, say a short note, that Purushit Prabhu also mentioned our friend in some of his lectures in recent days. I met a lady in Gibraltar, and we had a long conversation, and she basically eats nothing but meat. And she was giving me, again, like everyone has his arguments, right? I mean, everyone has something to support his viewpoint. So she was giving me hers, and it was very interesting, her point of view. And there is like a community of, I would say, pure meat eaters. So, but she was very much delighted by this concept of ahimsa meat, that we could actually all live together peacefully, even with meat eaters, the Hare Krishnas, or people would just have cows and milk them. And when then the cows die, then the meat eaters can take them, So she was very much appreciating the our all-encompassing approach, like all-inclusive approach of Krishna conscious devotees, that we do not, of course we condemn killing, and we know that meat eating is nonsense, but even there are such people, there is a solution, so everyone can have his way and actually still make some kind of a progress. But I will let you read now, Prabhu.
Yeah, that is a very interesting point. That the Vedic philosophy and the Vedas themselves, they don't make self-realization like completely exclusive. They give an opportunity for everyone, depending on what particular is born of their fruitive actions. They allow them to eventually come to God consciousness by slowly reducing their sinful reactions and increasing their pious works, even if they can't straight away surrender to Krishna. So that's a nice point. The conversation is quite long. If you'd like to read the full article, like I said, you can go to our website, which I'm going to post in the comment section below, or the description below. So it reads as follows. A disciple of Srila Prabhupada named Tamala Krishna Prabhu, he says, cow is going to die naturally anyway. Prabhupada says, yes. Then if you want to eat flesh, take their dead body and eat. Tamal Krishna, why don't they see this? That just by killing a cow, you don't get more cows. They're going to die anyway. Prabhupada, yes, everyone is going to die, but they are so voracious, they do not wait up to the death, and they have theorized that dead animal is dangerous to health. Now kill it while it is in life. Harikesh, yes, they think like that. Prabhupada, yes, but they've got so many nonsense philosophy. But if that philosophy is supported, when you kill the animal, he becomes dead. Sudama, yes, they just call it fresh meat. Prabhupada, just see, fresh dead. Just see. The rascals are so fools that unless you make him dead, you cannot eat. So why do you theorize that a dead animal is not good? So anyway, this is a little elaborating on this particular point. And then Prabhupada goes on to say in another conversation, hold on 1 second, sorry about this. So this is another conversation between Pushta Krishna Prabhu and Hari Sari and Prabhupads, and they are going a bit more into depth with this particular topic. So Pushta Krishna, especially cows and beef, so they have no objection, but they should at least wait until it dies naturally. What is the harm? They still get the same thing, and one devotee, Kirtanananda, I think, was saying that when they slaughter an animal, even in the slaughterhouse, it has to sit some number of days before they can distribute it. So I propose that the Westerners, they consider that this is superstitious, this protection of the cow. Prabhupada says, why is it superstitious? The cow is providing milk. Every child knows that he's getting milk from the cow is mother. So why in the old age should we slaughter mother? Is this a good argument? That, like, for example, they say in India, how so many people are starving, why don't they eat the cows? So Prabhupada proposed that if you're starving, does it mean that you eat your mother and father? Prabhupada, if you want to eat meat, let the father and mother die, then eat. Who has objection? Pushti Krishna, it's so reasonable. At least, Prabhupada says, for the Sena section they will accept. Hari Sari. The thing is, people are mad after meat. Prabhupada, madmen. Pushti Krishna, but they still get it. Prabhupada, he'll get the meat. So, this is very interesting because somehow or other people are getting the meat. It's what is the point of killing the animal? It's almost sadistic just to want to kill the animal if you can do it in a non-violent way. Of course, meat eating, like you said, it's not recommended because when you eat meat, it's difficult to understand spiritual life. But what makes it impossible to understand spiritual life is if you kill the cow. So, and why? Because as Prabhupada or Pushta Krishna Prabhu, he mentioned there, the cow is like the mother, right? The mother, she provides milk to the child. And similarly, the cow is also providing milk to the whole society. And milk is a very essential substance which nourishes the brain. Believe it or not, it nourishes the brain with certain tissues that allow you to advance in the spiritual understanding. So, if you kill the cow, it is sinful because you impede people's spiritual advancement. So, I don't know if you want to add anything to this point, Prabhu.
I think it's well said. And I was just wondering, actually, we were talking with Sabina Devi today, my fiance, that what is, okay, there is the ahimsa meat, which you don't have to kill, so it's not so sinful, but still it's tamasic.
Yes.
So it's kind of like dry stool, wet stool, but you know how to...
Yeah, in
I
one
don't know
sense.
if you know
I know what you mean, yeah.
like, what is better, or...
But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the ancient literatures that we study in this movement, it's stated that if one kills a cow, he has to go to a hellish planet and live in a hellish existence there. I'm not exactly sure the punishment. If you're into the details, you can check out the Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto by Srila Prabhupada. But it's said there that you go to this hellish existence for as many as for years, as many as there are hairs on the hair of the cow. So you will go to hell for a significantly less amount of time if you don't kill the cow. And because it is less sinful, certainly, it doesn't put so much an impediment on being able to realize the spiritual nature.
Yeah, you're a nonsense, but at least you don't kill.
Yeah, exactly. Slightly less a nonsense. Yeah, so now we have also a more effective solution for this. Like you've mentioned many times, this podcast or a few times, you said that we should just live simply and sustain the body with whatever's needed to keep the soul and the body together. So I'm just wondering, Prabhu, because you are into kind of farming and the simple living kind of style. I was just wondering maybe if you could elaborate, or how would you, according to Srila Prabhupada and like this, how would you operate? What would be the mode of living if we were to, how would we practically live simply and think highly, as Prabhupada says?
Well, first of all, the cities are not a very natural setup for human habitation, and that you can see even, let's say there is this, now we have this COVID here and stuff like that. So if they lock down the city, people are basically finished. You know, if they don't keep the shops open and don't bring food from outside, which goes on anyway all the time. Like, there is no food in the city. Everything is brought from outside, and people just go out and buy. So we have population concentrated in these big metropolises. Metropolises? That was the clue.
I think metropoli.
So that is not like a natural setup. So Srila Prabhupada also mentions that, and it is true, that there is so much land empty. Actually, if you would take I just heard some statistic or some kind of a simulation that if you take all the cities, all the villages, everything, and put them in one spot, just join everything into one, like a megalopolis, that area will be not more than, I don't know, 1, 2, 3% of the whole surface of the earth.
Wow.
You see, if you join everything, all the conurbations and everything, all the cities into one, just take everything and put it in one bunch. So it's going to be definitely not more than 10% of the Earth's surface, which still would be quite nothing. But it's not that. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4%. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure about the number. So all this land is being vacant. So the ideal solution is, of course, that people have their land, and a family has a cow, at least one cow, and you just grow and have milk. Of course, people can organize themselves and cooperate on this, but this is Srila Prabhupada says, this is the economic problem solution: land and cows. But for that, people would have to give up their, the artificial lifestyle and all these what is connected with it. Even such things like traveling and stuff like that. Like, why do you need to travel? If you take care, if you grow your food and milk your cow, then you just own that. So this is the simple living. You're not extravagant in any way. You just work on the work you do is your sustenance, and you chant Hare Krishna. Of course, there are different people with different propensities. So the society is organized in the Vedic society is organized. So it is not that now everyone has to keep a cow, right? But there is a way described in the Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada explains it. It's called Varnashram system. How everyone can live in his local, community, and there is food production, milk production. There is knowledge being distributed. There is administration of the society, and manual labor, and everything is harmonized, and God is in the center. So even if we turn on the brains properly, I think it wouldn't be a big problem to reconcile with today's state of affairs. Now when we have all these so-called advanced civilization and so complex structures, that would be, of course, a different topic for a different discussion, but so much could be implemented and so much could be improved in the way people live today if they just hear from the Vedas what is the ideal and then just try to come to that ideal. Even it cannot be reached exactly because the level of complexity is so high now that you cannot just regress like that. Maybe a war would help, some real, when you just smash the whole infrastructure and people just have to start from the scratch. So whether that would be good or bad, I'm not gonna judge now, but so much can be improved. There are some principles which are universal and can be applied. So I'm speaking kind of a little bit too much widely, not in detail, but I said that would be a different discussion. But there is a guidance, So even in a complex society like ours, there is still a way how to improve.
Yeah, very nicely said. We discussed these topics already a little bit in our podcast you can find on this very same channel, Simple Living, High Thinking. But yeah, that was very nicely said, Prabhu. And
after all, what do you need? After all, what do you need? You need a shelter, you need a roof, and you need to eat something, and that's all you need. Yes. Everything and anything else people create, whatever luxuries or whatever advancement. Where does it lead? Simply, again, to have some kind of a shelter and to eat something.
Yeah, and actually
and to be able to protect the body and to mate. So that's you don't have to you don't have to break your head for that. You can take it easy. It is anyway given by karma. So whatever you try to get extra, you are simply messing up with the order, and that can never do you good.
Right. This point you're bringing up now, very interesting. I was just reading in this Divine Nature book that actually this artificial, anything more than what you just said, anything more than that simple living standard, these artificial necessities that Prabhupada oftentimes says, artificial necessities that we're creating simply because we're bored. We're not practicing Krishna consciousness. We don't have spiritual variety, so we're simply bored with material enjoyment, and so we create all these artificial necessities and artificial pleasures and so on and so forth.
And you remain bored, and you remain bored. It's not kind of a solution,
Right, and all this boredom and artificial necessities, that is also what is creating the environmental issues, because we make so many big factories, right, to make useless things like toys and McDonald's Happy Meals and slaughterhouses to kill the animals so we can satisfy our tongues and so on and so forth. I think you get the picture.
It's like you have a level ground, like the straight field. Now, if you want to make a pile somewhere, you have to dig a hole somewhere else.
Right.
And this is the whole problem. Right. This is the whole problem. If you want to pile up stuff, then you have to dig a hole somewhere else. And this is not God that is unjust. It is it is us.
Right. Yeah, it's like
because of
it's
the artificial necessities.
yeah, it's like
Because of
it's
the artificial necessities.
yeah, like it's stated in the Ishopanishad that if you take more than what is given to you as a quota, as you take more than what you're meant to take according to your karma, um, the manifestation is complete. Like you said, also on Panam, everything is perfect. So, um, if you take more, you have to take from someone else, and you have to suffer because of that. That's thief. That's being a thief.
Yes, we are not in a transcendental world that 1 plus 1 equals to 1 and 1 minus 1 equals to 1. Here,
Right.
1 minus 1 is 0. So if someone has a 1 there, and you have a 1, and you take his 1 to have 2, then he has 0. This
Exactly.
is the world of duality.
So, yes, thank you, Prabhu, very much for discussing with me. There are actually many more points I wanted to
Yes,
bring
we could
up.
go on.
It could go on, but we're approaching time here, and we also have to do our evening program here at the Blitz London, and I'm sure you have stuff to do also over there in Slovakia. So, thank you very much for joining me. It was a real pleasure
Yes.
having Krishna Kata with you and
Thank you
discussing
also very
this.
much, Prabhu. I very much appreciate your kind invitation.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So maybe, hopefully, you'll join us on another podcast. I'm I'm here now without Purujit Prabhu. Purujit Prabhu is taking a break to work
Thank you,
on.
Prabhu. I'm, I just want to say,
Yes, please, Prabhu.
all glories. Sorry, Prabhu, I just got a little interruptions here. I just want to say, all glories to the bliss devotees in London, His Grace Purujit Prabhu, your good self, Maitreya Prabhu, and thank you for your kind association. And for myself, I can just say I very much hope that I will be able to get on a job soon and support you nicely in your preaching effort. And I would like to also invite everyone who made it up to this point to kindly support the Bliss preaching. Donate to the Bliss Center in London, Prabhu's.
There seems to be a little audio issue with Makhancora Prabhu. So I apologize for that. But okay, Prabhu, what Prabhu is speaking, I approve 100%. Thank you, Prabhuji. I think he may have even now disconnected. But if you are interested, of course, I'm sure you will be. It was very next day hearing Makhancora Prabhu. You can actually find him on Facebook under Makhancora Dasa. And I recommend that you add him, and like that you can have a conversation with him about Krishna consciousness. He's a key core member of the Bliss Bhaktivedanta Lives in Sound Society. He's been here. He's certainly senior to me, and it was a wonderful pleasure having him. He is currently based in Slovakia, and he's looking for work to support the Bliss. Such an elevated devotee, giving 50%, just like how Prabhupada prescribed. He's currently engaged with Sabina Masaji, and they plan on getting married in the near future. So it was really wonderful having such a nice guest on the show, and thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this podcast. Like I said, there's going to be links to everything we discussed in the podcast in the description of this video, and please join us next time on the next episode of the Bliss podcast for more Krishna conscious contents. So Jai, all glories to the Bliss, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.